It's a solar eclipse in Taurus ruled by an exact conjunction of Venus and Jupiter. This means you can access opportunities through spiritual means. How do you do that? That's what we're going to talk about. Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, here to talk to you today about the solar eclipse. This is on April 30th at 10 degrees of Taurus. We're going to do a short intro and then we're going to go sign by sign. This is a solar eclipse and the new moon. Solar eclipses always happen on the new moon. And so the energy of the solar eclipse is when the moon, which is what you need, what you crave to feel safe and secure, what you feel lacks in your life, what you need to feel, safe. That energy in your life becomes so big and so overwhelming, it blots out the sun. So a solar eclipse happens 2 or 3 times a year, and it is such primal energy that even people who don't follow astrology pay attention to it. It generally causes change, and it will cause change from a societal level or the level of a country, but it also can change a person's individual life. So eclipses bring opportunities for change, and this is a change that happens in your life whether you like it or not. And that is, of course, if you're being hit by this eclipse, and we'll talk about that in a second. But if you're already in the process of some sort of change, and that might mean moving, changing jobs, changing something in your relationships, making a major shift in your life, then the energy of the eclipse really helps you along. It facilitates the change. However, if you've been saying, I don't want to change, I want to stay put, I want things to be as they were, and if you are being hit by the eclipse and the universe feels like you need a nudge in a different direction, then it is likely something in your life will change. So in general, an eclipse means that a storm is coming, that there is this energy out there that looks maybe a little bit menacing. It looks like it's different than whatever you're experiencing at the moment. And again, because it's a storm, it will affect different people in different ways. But what's important to remember is that you have already been through many storms in your life. In fact, over the last 2 years, we've all been through several storms, and this has been something where it's brought trials and lots of work and lots of change into our lives, but you have survived. Now, I do understand this doesn't mean that everyone has survived. You have lost people in your life. I have lost people in my life. And so, but we know, or I should say I know, because I don't know what you know, but I know that souls are eternal. And so those people who have gone on, we're going to reunite at some point in the future. And so, but we're here on this planet now, and we are here to learn and grow. And part of that is to weather these storms. So how do you prepare for a storm that's coming? Well, first of all, you trust yourself. You recognize that you've been through lots of storms in the past, and so another storm coming is just part of the cycle. But this is also about working on your skills, because the more skills you have, the easier it is for you to weather a storm. Now, it depends, of course, doing this metaphor of where you live in the world. You might live in the world where there are hurricanes. And so with a hurricane, you often get a few days warning that something is coming. I actually live in an area where earthquakes happen, where there is no warning. And so for me, it's necessary that I am prepared at all times. And while I would encourage people who are in the line of hurricanes to be prepared at all times, there can be a different mindset. So the first step is to prepare, and then the second step is to make sure that you have skills. So what do I mean by skills? Because the storm is a metaphoric storm and could affect the place you live. It could affect the economy in general. It could mean that you are moving or changing relationships or having some sort of different job. Skills are those things that work in society to help you thrive, and prosper. So the first set of skills, of course, are the basic skills. Can you cook meals for yourself? Do you know how to keep track of your finances? Do you know how to basically take care of your family and friends? And then the second level of skills might be something more around technology. Do you know how to upload a resume? Do you know how to do a Zoom conference if you are doing an interview? Can you do remote work? And what are the other different ways that you could work using technology? And then the third level of skills, I think, is where you take something that you really enjoy and you really dive deep and you learn how to do that thing very, very well. And that could be anything from, sewing or cooking, as we mentioned before, or programming in some programming language, like whatever it is you enjoy, because these days, thanks to the internet, there are so many different ways that a person could make a good living. Now, when we look at this specific eclipse, then we're going to look and see whether this eclipse could be affecting you, as well as what the energy is for this eclipse overall. So this is a Taurus eclipse, and Taurus rules money, and Taurus is ruled by the planet Venus that happens to be conjunct Jupiter in Pisces for this chart. And so Jupiter in Pisces tends to expand things and to a point where there's no boundaries. So if we add all these things together, what we get is what we've all been hearing about already, which is inflation. And this is that inflation could go up quite a bit and causing us to be looking at things that we would normally buy and saying, I think I'm going to pass on that. Now, at the same time that this means that prices are going up, it also means that wages or what you charge could be going up. And so this might be something that you are considering. We still live in a world where many, many people are looking for goods and services and they're having trouble finding them, which means that there are many opportunities to make money. The way to access this through this chart is through spiritual means, and that begins by actually unplugging for a little bit and listening to your higher self and to the universe. And that is where you are asking yourself very good questions and then pausing to listen for the answer. So the questions you might be asking yourself is, what are the trends that you are seeing? Not so much related to everybody's commentary out there, because there's a lot of loud voices out there shouting different things, but what do you see the trends as? Well, what do you see that people are going to need in the future? What problems are they going to have that you might be able to solve? Or if you have problems yourself, what are the different ideas for solving those? And would other people benefit from those solutions as well? Because all of these are opportunities for both business connections and also personal connections. So I know that in the world of unlimited information and entertainment, it is super hard to unplug. I never used to have trouble doing it, and now I find it very, very difficult. And so it's really good to try to do this in short doses at first, and that means you might just do 2 minutes of meditation and journaling on one of these questions of, first, again, asking yourself, are you prepared for an oncoming storm? And we are thinking first of a literal storm and then a metaphoric storm. And then the second is that what skills do you have already and what skills could you make better, that you could really hone to become an expert at something, or at least really good at something, because that increases your value in society and therefore increases opportunities, financial opportunities and connection opportunities. And then finally, I just want to address the thing that I do run into with a lot of clients who, you guys do have a lot of skills. You are prepared for a lot of things, but you're lacking in confidence. And this oftentimes is because of issues at upbringing, dealing with parents who are stressed out, or teachers who are equally stressed out and who did not give you what you needed. And now it's up to you, and you have to give yourself what you need. So a lack of confidence does not mean you don't have skills. This just means that you are nervous that your skills aren't good enough. So here's the rub. Even when your skills are amazing, you could still feel a lack of confidence. So sometimes getting the certificate doesn't really help, or, just finding a way to redo your website or other ways of procrastinating doesn't actually make you feel better. It's doing it that makes you feel better. When you practice your skills, that's when things feel better. And so I know it feels risky to get out there, to put yourself out there, but the solution to a lack of confidence is just to do more of that thing. Okay, so the bottom line is that there is an eclipse coming, and it is a storm. And because all eclipses are storms, that you are probably already prepared for that storm, which is good. And you have skills. You have skills because you exist in the world and you have been working on things since you were young, and you maybe just need to catalog those skills. And so whatever happens, whether this brings, higher prices and fluctuations in the market, which it can do, it's also going to bring a myriad of business opportunities. And you find those business opportunities by looking within spiritually, or looking and listening to the universe. Another highlight of this new moon / solar eclipse is that Mercury is at 0 degrees of Gemini, which means that you might have a million thoughts in your head at all time. So the 0 degree energy means that you can go in all different directions. There's so many different opportunities, and Gemini is about information. So it is possible you are consuming more information in a 24-hour period than your grandfather did in a whole month when he was your age. So this is that your mind is filled with thoughts, you're really being bombarded, which is kind of goes hand in hand with what I was saying before about needing to unplug, even if that's just for 2 minutes. So one of the ways that you can do that is to activate that Jupiter-Venus energy by listening to ocean waves, especially ocean waves that are crashing onto the shore. So because that would be the water for the Pisces, and then the shore would represent that Taurus part of the eclipse. Or you might do the sound of rain hitting something that is like earth or metal, where, like it's on a metal roof, or it's hitting the ground. Of course, there's lots of videos of nature sounds, and so these would work out quite well. It's interesting that the only square in this whole chart is the Saturn squaring the North Node and South Node. And so squares are what cause us to take action. And so the only action that we're really seeing, where we're really feeling compelled to do something, is to make a decision. And that decision is to either go after something that's new, or to go back into the past and do something that is familiar. And so, of course, it's always good to go do something new, because the past and the familiar is just going to bring us the same results we've had in the past. Otherwise, this chart is filled with sextiles and semi-sextiles. So a sextile is a very lucky energy, but it requires you to do the first action. So that is that you initiate the phone call and then you get something back. You send out your resume and then you get something back. And so everything is about you moving forward first, and then the opportunity happens, and things work out very nicely when you do it in that order. If you just sit and wait, then nothing happens at all, and the opportunity is missed. Now, a semi-sextile is different. A semi-sextile is still a growth aspect, but generally growth aspects mean they're not as comfortable. So this is a slightly uncomfortable, slightly outside of your comfort zone sort of aspect, where maybe like hiking on a new trail, or doing something that, while you already know hiking and you're experienced and you have the equipment and all that, but the trail is new. So you have that little tiny bit of uncertainty. So it is also where things are done in small increments and they're slightly irritating. And so that is doing the paperwork, or writing some copy, or things like that take a lot of care, and it's just it just feels a little bit frustrating. But when it's done, you feel really great that it got done. So overall, the eclipse energy does last longer than this 2-week period, but this chart that we're talking about now, when we do the individual sign by sign, is for the 2 weeks. I'll put the dates on the screen, and the dates will be in the description somewhere. And then just so you know, we are doing tropical Western astrology. It's a good idea to listen to your ascending sign as well as your sun sign. If you don't know your rising sign, you can send me your birth information and I'll send you a copy of your chart. There's a link to my website and where you can send me an email in the description. And while you're on my website, do sign up for my newsletter. I am putting in more information about aspects that are coming up, as well as some information just to teach you some astrology. I also do readings, and there is a link to the different types of readings I do, again, on the website. Also check out my books. I write weekly and monthly columns for astrology.com and Conscious Community Magazine and horoscope.com. Okay, let's go sign by sign. Okay, Aries, you guys are doing this solar eclipse in your area of money and values, and then it is connected to that Venus, Jupiter in Pisces in your house of spirituality. So let's break this down. So this solar eclipse is in your house of money, which means there could be changes in your financial circumstances. So that can be a shift in a revenue stream, and that can be to the positive or the negative. It depends on if you were moving towards something or if you're trying to get something not to change. Now, this is also, though, about a sense of deserving. And so this is oftentimes when people get hit with this Taurus eclipse in this way, this is what it does to them, is it challenges whether you think you deserve the whatever it is you have. So, and you know, there's an author who wrote about this. I think his name is Gay Hendricks. He wrote about an upper limit problem where as you start to make more money, you can exceed what internally you think you deserve, and then you can start to sabotage that. Well, this is a challenge to that, and it says to work on your sense of self-worth. Now, sense of self-worth or sense of deserving is different than self-confidence. So self-confidence you get by doing something over and over, but self-worth is something that either you have by going within and saying all people deserve, and so therefore you're a people, and so therefore you deserve, or it may be tied to Saturn in your chart, which case, if it is, that means that you will associate the things that you do, the effort that you make with self-worth, and that is that if you come to the end of the day and you've done things that you're proud of, then you will feel worthy and you will make more and more and more. So right now you're doing the solar eclipse in this area, and so this is what's getting challenged. So good things to do are to look at how you're taking care of your money and possessions, and you know, if there are changes in this area, recognize that you will feel better about the things that are happening now in a few months. So that could just be the universe nudging you along in a better direction. Now, this is all connected to that Venus conjunct Jupiter in Pisces in your 12th house, and this is about you finding out what you're supposed to be doing and what the universe has in store for you through some sort of meditation or doing things that are more spiritual. So this kind of boils down to, sitting with a journal or sitting with a candle, maybe lighting some incense, maybe doing some feng shui, so that you can really tap into the bigger consciousness out there and feel the energy of what you should be doing next, or opportunities that you might be missing. So I have some videos on feng shui specifically for bringing in prosperity on this channel, and so I will link some in the description. Okay, when it comes to relationships, specifically love relationships, the sun is making a sextile to Mars, which is excellent. The interesting part of this is that Mars is in your hidden house, and so there's something that's maybe a little bit on the more liaison, kind of, hidden sort of love relationship. Perhaps this is something where you're entering in and one of you isn't exactly out of your previous relationship yet, or because maybe you work together, or you have friends in common or something, that you are meeting secretly. And so there is something that seems to be more subtle going on, something behind the scenes, something quiet. But it's a nice sextile, and so something romantic could happen. When it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is not making an aspect with Mars. However, they are in the same sign. Now, they were together, and now Venus is pulling apart, which means that your partner is taking some steps out of alignment or moving forward on something in a direction, and you're not going that same direction. Now, this is not something to be worried about over the long term. This could be very temporary. They're just very busy, or you're just finding that you're doing different things. However, because you're still in that same sign together, that means that there is points of communication, and so you might want to open those lines of communication to make sure that you're hearing what your partner needs. Now, this also is that if you are trying to state what you need, they're moving forward so quickly they may not hear you. So you may have to catch them at a moment when they have paused, or when they are willing to be, in the same room with you and not running around folding laundry or doing stuff like that, where you can actually sit down and express what you need. When it comes to home and family, the moon is making a sextile to Mars, so there are opportunities to get together and connect, especially if you wanted to discuss something together, like maybe pooling your resources to do some sort of project or investment. Now, again, your ruler is in the hidden house, so there's a little bit more of you wanting to be on your own, perhaps, and maybe people are seeking you out. And so that is, if you need somebody in your life right now, all you have to do is make a phone call, because they are looking to connect, but they may have this idea that you want some space. So again, this is a very positive aspect, but you need to initiate. Now, when it comes to your money, you are pulling money from that Venus that we've been talking about. It is conjunct Jupiter. This brings a lot of luck and expansion and opportunities, but it's in a house that is not so practical or business-minded. And that means that the best method for you is to combine something that is more spiritual or more ethereal or more about visualization or affirmations to get what you want. And that is, before you pick up the phone to call a prospective client, visualize that that conversation goes well. Or before you launch your website, look and see if it's a good date, is a good moon phase, or are the aspects lined up, or look and light a candle and make a wish and then launch the website. So it is, if you are doing money things, incorporate some of the spiritual energy and you'll do much better. Additionally, your money house is chock full of planets right now. It is the Sun, Moon, Uranus, and North Node. This brings you multiple opportunities for different sources of revenue, but it is also where the storm is. And so that does mean that you need to push, lean in, and do things that are probably outside your comfort zone. So this is a good time to be looking around for a job, and not necessarily to start the job, but to look around, to look at starting the business, not necessarily starting it on the day of the eclipse, because that's a day where there's not much energy, but starting it right after the eclipse or even before the eclipse so that you can capitalize on some of this energy would be very good. So you have a great money house right now, and it is telling you, though, pay attention, because the universe is saying that there are opportunities coming for you, and you need to be aware that you've got to reach out and grab them. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your career, Venus is making a sextile to Pluto. And this means that, again, there's an opportunity where you pick up the phone and ask for the job, ask for the sale, connect with somebody in a sense of a partnership, reach out to somebody who is knowledgeable and ask if you can pick their brain for 10 minutes. So looking at the things that you want to do and then taking an action around it, especially actions that are slightly outside your comfort zone. So it means less about thinking, oh, you're going to start a business, so then you are ordering a bunch of stuff from IKEA. That's not the type of action that we're talking about. We're talking about something that is more challenging for you, that really gets the ball rolling, and that would be, you want to start a business, go get a customer. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, and this is like a paycheck, Venus is making a semi-square to Uranus, so a challenging aspect for sure, but it is still an aspect. So it is possible that you could get a big opportunity with your job or a new job for a bigger paycheck, but it's going to come with some extra responsibilities. So this means that there's going to be a little tit for tat. So you could wait for a better aspect, one will come up. But if you feel that this is the time to ask, you do have an aspect, and so it's likely you will get at least a conditional yes. And then when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, or are highly leveraged, speculative, or time sensitive, Venus is making a semi-square to the Sun. So we have this energy of there's positive possibilities, but it is outside your comfort zone. So that means you're going to have to learn something, study, take some chances. Like there's a little bit more risk, and there is a potential payoff. So going outside your comfort zone on a risky investment does make sense. With all risky investments, do be careful because they are risky, and that means don't invest more than you can afford to lose. And also, don't invest money that you're going to need very soon. You may have to hold on to an investment for a long period of time, especially now that we have so much of this Taurus energy. Taurus energy can really pay off, but you have to be patient. So you're doing a semi-square. You have a nice money house this time, so something could pay off. But, it's a risky investment, so be cautious. Okay, Taurus, this eclipse is in your own sign, and so this does mean that there could be quite a few changes in your life. Now, this eclipse is at 10 degrees, so it is possible that the planets that you have in Taurus, including your sun, are outside of that orb, which means, maybe they're late Taurus or very early Taurus, and so you're not getting a direct hit. However, you will get a hit during this eclipse series, which lasts a total of about 18 months. So that means that even if you're getting a direct hit or not, making changes in your life is very beneficial. Now, part of the difficulty is that a natural state of Taurus is to not make change. You are very good at waiting things out, meditating, being still, really understanding a situation before you move forward. But let's say that one, that external circumstances are causing a need to move forward, or two, you've already been mulling something over for a while, so now change is necessary. And so this is to pick a direction and move towards it. The interesting thing about this when we're co-creating with the universe is if we do that, if we pick a direction and move toward it and we're going the wrong direction, the universe will nudge us in the right direction. And by nudge, I mean create things that will cause change. Now, besides this being in your own sign, it's a challenge to your confidence, and that is to say that it's time for you to be confident and not give in to, just saying, well, I'm not confident, therefore I'm not going to try. This is about remembering how much you've already accomplished in your life, what you have been able to handle, and giving yourself that benefit of the doubt that you can handle things in the future. So this is a challenge to you to stand up, be confident, and this will bring opportunities. Now, when we look at that Venus conjunct Jupiter, that's in your house of friendships, technology, and the future. So one of the things that you can do is actually make yourself a list of what it is that you do want. And that's the bigger picture, though. Who do you want to meet? Where do you want to live? You know, put your wishes down on paper so that the universe can see them. If they're just in your head, sometimes it can be just a jumble of, you know, this week you want a beach house, next week you want a mountain cabin, or things like that. So get some things on paper. You can always change those later. The second is that there are a lot of opportunities for you to connect with groups and organizations or friends who are going to help you with your goals. So this is about finding accountability partners who are going to hold your feet to the fire to help you get your website done or your video course done, or to, you know, focus you on your creative projects, etc. Or get involved with a group that can help inspire you. So when you are looking for different ways of connecting spiritually to bring in more opportunities, it's going to be through these groups, organizations. So that also would mean spiritual groups and things dealing with astrology. So when it comes to love relationships, especially new relationships, Mercury is making a sextile to Venus, and Venus, of course, is in that house of friendships. And so your way to love is either by going out with somebody that you already know who is a friend or an acquaintance, or telling your friends that you do want to meet someone and having them help you meet somebody, either by helping you get online and vetting some people for you, or introducing you to someone they know. So there's some really good energy. It starts with you telling somebody that you are interested in a love relationship, and then things can move forward. And when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making a sextile to Pluto. So again, we have a good aspect. There is an opportunity to get together, maybe with other couples, and maybe as other couples observe your relationship, maybe you'll get compliments on that relationship. Maybe people will say how much they admire your relationship, and this helps strengthen your relationship. It's also possible you'll do some travel together, and that pulls you out of your routine, and so that can really help your love relationship too. Now, when it comes to home and family, Venus is making a semi-square to the Sun, and so this is that there is an aspect, but it's not the easiest, and so there may be some challenges around home and family going on. It's possible that people are just scattered in different directions and everybody's going to do whatever it is that they're looking to do. But it's also possible that there are some changes going on at home because you did take this eclipse hit, and so you're feeling a little stressed. And so it is okay for you to ask friends and family to, or actually family members to, be more understanding of you at this time. When you ask, you can get some help, but if you don't ask, if you're just waiting for them to offer, you may be disappointed. When it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mercury at 0 degrees of Gemini in your house of money, and so you may have a huge amount of ideas and information that you want to pursue on money ideas. And so this could be many, many more ideas than you possibly have time to do. And so it's really important that you write these down or record these in some way so that you can start to access these later when you have more time. This also means that there could be a secondary source of money, or if you already have 2 sources, maybe a couple of more sources of money that are starting to come in. Now, these are just going to be little trickles at this point because the Mercury is at 0 degrees. And so this is just enough to maybe give you the idea that something good could be happening later. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your own business, Mercury is making a sextile to Jupiter. And so this is what I said before in the introduction about sextiles. It is that if you initiate the action, then wonderful things can happen. So that means you make the phone call, or you investigate the investment, or you start the ball rolling, and that's when the benefits roll in. So this is really good energy. It's some of the best energy you've had in a while on this. So you do want to move forward on business projects as well as investment projects if you possibly can. And then when it comes to money derived from career, and this is like a paycheck, you have an amazing house going on. It is Mars, Neptune, Venus, and Jupiter, and Mercury is making a sextile to Neptune. Now, this is an out of sign sextile, and that means that it may not feel like it's the most obvious time to ask for a raise, but it actually is really good energy. So you want to consider how you can, get your supervisor to sit down with you. Maybe it's really a busy time for you guys, or maybe they're even talking about slimming down the business, but there is some opportunities, and so you do want to take it if you possibly can. And then finally, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, or they're highly speculative, in other words, leveraged or time sensitive. Basically, this energy is all controlled by this Mercury at 0 degrees. And so here is the problem. The 0 degrees makes it too new to figure out whether it's going to be profitable. So it's an okay time to get your toes wet, but it's not time to dive in. You want to test the waters, very literally speaking, by putting in the absolute minimum effort or money or whatever it is that you're doing to try it out, because this could go off in many, many different directions. And so if you're interested in something, let's say you're interested in some of the altcoins, and so you may investigate one coin, there are 7,000 other coins for you to investigate. So before you put all of your eggs in one altcoin basket, you want to look at some of the other things. And that's what that 0 degree is talking about. Okay, Gemini, you guys are doing this solar eclipse in your area of spirituality, intuition, but also in that area of distractions, addictions, and hidden things. And so this could be the universe trying to nudge you out of a life pattern where you are just distracting yourself or trying to escape from life, when there are so many opportunities for you that are building up. So this is a time to be thinking about how much time you're spending doing things that are not exactly really what you want to be doing. Or, I know that some of the distractions out there are super pleasant, but by the end of the day, they don't feel good. And so looking at the bigger picture of where it is you want to go with your life, and are the things that you're doing every day helping that? So this eclipse could happen in this area for you. Now, it's also possible that this eclipse is more happening to people around you, because this is in your hidden house and they are just calling on you for help. So this eclipse is ruled by that Venus right up in your 10th house, and it's conjunct Jupiter. And so when you're accessing something from the spiritual, it might feel weird that somehow that is connected to career. And it may not be. I mean, one of the ways to do this energy is to take your spiritual interests and make them a career. But that's going to be outside of this 2-week period. This would be more that you were deciding to do this. But the 10th house also rules those things that have been built over time. And so that would be looking at ancient ways, ways people did things thousands of years ago from a spiritual basis. So this could be things like huna, or meditation, or yoga, even astrology, which is, has its basis in, thousands and thousands of years ago. So looking at ancient practices is a way for you to tap into the information and the blessings from the universe. The other thing that this placement can do is bring up an affinity with crystals. So if you already have an interest in crystals, you may want to dust off the crystals that you have, or acquire a crystal or two to use for a focus for meditation, or to bring energy to certain areas of your life. Okay, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is making a lovely sextile to Venus. However, it is out of sign, which means that it's not going to be the most obvious person. And so this might be somebody who is asking you out, and maybe you've been hesitating because they're not necessarily your type. And so it might be worth it, though, to, at least have coffee together. Or maybe the method of finding the person isn't exactly what you like. Maybe you don't like going online, but your friends have been suggesting that this is a way to do it. And so this is kind of how you can activate the sextile and you can get some really good results. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's making a sextile with Jupiter. And again, of course, it's out of sign. And so this is that you are coming together, maybe doing something new, or finding unexpectedly that you like, the same type of movie and you never knew this about each other, or that you have a shared hobby that you didn't know about because they haven't done that hobby in, 20 years. So there's something you could discover about your partner and actually have it add to the relationship, but it is something that you might not think is the most obvious. When it comes to home and family, you are doing that Mercury, which we are talking about as doing multiple aspects in this chart, and it is at that 0 degrees, so something new is happening at home. And this might mean that somebody in the family is making an announcement that there's going to be a pregnancy, that somebody's pregnant, and there's going to be an addition to the family, a new pet, maybe a family member is moving. So there's something new going on, but it's so new that you may not even know how to feel about it yet. And so the energy over this 2 weeks is something good could be happening, but it is something that's new and maybe something you didn't expect. Now, when it comes to your money, you are pulling money from that moon, which of course is part of this solar eclipse. And it's also in your hidden house. So a couple of things are going on. It may be that you need to do kind of some self-searching or a meditation with yourself to figure out what the universe is trying to tell you. It's possible you'll have dreams or receive psychic messages about how you need to take care of finances, or a financial opportunity that maybe you've missed and the universe wants to bring your attention to it. This is also if you have an experience like losing your wallet, or losing like you drop $1 in the street and you can't find it, something like that. The universe is asking you to pay more attention to your finances at this time, because perhaps there are, forces out there trying to take from you, as, lots of people have this happen, so that if you're paying attention, you can catch it right away and deal with it. But ultimately, the bottom line on your money is that with it in your hidden house, you may not be paying much attention to it at all. And this could be maybe because you are so busy in other areas of your life, but this isn't an area to completely neglect. So give it a little bit of your attention. When it comes to your income from business or from traditional investments, the moon is not making an aspect with Saturn. And so this means that this is a time to basically work on your skills, work on back office stuff, work on getting contracts done, new marketing materials, do all of that things, because right now it's not really a profit-making time. So when it comes to investments, you might be investigating new investments, reading those prospectuses, or learning about some different ways of investing. But right now, it's not a time where lots of profit is coming in. When it comes to money derived from career, the story is entirely different. You have an amazing career house with Mars, Neptune, Venus, and Jupiter, plus Mars is making a sextile to the moon. And so you have an opportunity for a new job, a promotion. You need to state what you want, because the moon is hidden here. Your boss, even if they think they want to give it to you, they're having trouble finding you, or maybe not sure you want it. Post your resume, because again, you're in that hidden house. You may need to All right, not you in the hidden house. You actually are right on the ascendant, but because the eclipse energy is hidden, you might need to apply twice to a job. You might need to send an extra special cover letter, something like that, to get people's attention. But boy, when you do, good things can happen. And then when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, or they're highly leveraged, or speculative, or time sensitive, Venus is making a semi-square with the moon, which means that there is some opportunities to make money, but it is outside your comfort zone. It's different than an out-of-sign aspect. An out-of-sign aspect means it's a little bit, you wouldn't have thought of it. It's not obvious. But this is, you can see what you need to do. It's just something you don't want to do because you've never done it before. And so that is, maybe this is the time where you're saying, okay, you are going to invest in this new type of investment. So you have to go through the whole process of setting up the account, getting money into the account, and reading all the fine print, etc. So take it slow. Take it one step at a time. Get some advice on it if you need it. So before you move forward, this is the area of risky investments, so be cautious. Okay, Cancer, you guys are doing this solar eclipse in your area of friendships, technology, as well as hopes, dreams, and the future. And so starting with friendships, this could mean there might be a big shift in a friendship. And so perhaps this person is moving across the country or out of the country. Maybe there is just some difficulties you've had with a friend, and it's going to take some work to put the pieces back together. When it comes to technology, it may mean that you need to upgrade, or that you just need to kind of focus on the technology that you need to learn. A lot of times we forget how much we struggled to learn things when we were young, and yet even though we struggled, we kept at it. And as we get older, we assume that things will come more quickly and easily just because most of the things we do, we've done for a long time. And so if you can get back to that mindset of exploring and being interested and being curious, there's really nothing you can't learn if you really want to learn it. So especially because there's so much information out there. When it comes to the part about hopes, dreams, and the future, you are looking to see whether the things that you're doing are in alignment with your goals. If you have goals that you keep stating to the universe, but you're not taking any action towards them, the universe can say, we don't believe you. So this is about looking at what you really do want to do, whether that's be an artist or to take your spiritual business and make that a reality, like make it your career, these sort of things. It's time to lean in to do those things. Now, where we're seeing this connection to Venus and Jupiter is in your area of more conventional spirituality or more structured spirituality. So this may mean joining a group to do meditation or to do some sort of yoga or spiritual practice. If you want to do more magic, maybe finding like-minded people to get together to do things, on the full moons and the new moons, because those would be the perfect time. So this is about you looking at your spiritual practices and making them more of a prerequisite by giving them a structure. Now, when it comes to relationships, especially new love relationships, the moon's not making an aspect with Pluto this time. Now, this is an interesting thing that's coming up because you are meeting new people in this chart, you are connecting with all these new people, but because you are focused right now on looking at what you can align yourself with in the future and doing things from this more structured spiritual basis, love may not pop up into your mind. And so this energy will line up in the future, but maybe because you're just joining these groups, you're getting to know people, and it's not quite the right time to pick somebody out of the group and start dating. There's similar energy when we look at existing love relationships, and that is that there's no aspect going on between Moon and Saturn this time. And so this is just a time where the two of you are going off in different directions. You are exploring new avenues, they are as well. And even if you're the same sign or the same rising sign and you're listening to the same part of this recording, it is that you're still pursuing things in your own way. And so you may be assimilating information and, meditating and thinking things through. And then later when this aspect comes up, you'll come together in a way that is stronger for the relationship. But right now, it is possible that you're not necessarily meshing. Either your schedule isn't meshing or that you are just thinking and focusing on different things. Now, when it comes to home and family, you are doing an aspect. It's a semi-square between Moon and Venus. And this means that family is coming together. There might be a little bit of contentiousness between family members. It may not be you, but you may be watching it from a distance where, not everybody seems to be getting along. But it more likely is that there's energy around some sort of travel or trip. Like those are two different things. So that is causing some stress, maybe to get the person ready, maybe having them come to your house because they're on the road and they're coming from some distant place. So you're coming together, but there does seem to be a little bit of friction along the way. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that sun in Taurus. That is part of the solar eclipse. So this means there is a possibility of a change in finances over this period of time. Now, usually eclipse energy lasts much longer, and as you go through the eclipse, you become happier and happier that whatever occurred during this 2-week period did occur. So this means that if there's a change at your job or in your business or in your finances in general, this is going to lead to something that is much more beneficial. However, at the time, it can feel a little bit stressful. So if you know that there is something going on at work where there are some changes going on, you want to be very proactive about them at this time. Remember, the more you're making changes, the less the universe has to nudge you into a different direction. So it might be that you need to get your side business started or be looking for a new job and just, again, be proactive about it because the energy that you're doing is extremely favorable for finding something new. When it comes to traditional investments or money from your business, the sun is making a conjunction to Uranus, and this is quite beneficial, and they're in money houses. They're both in the same house, but it's a money house. And so this is a really good time to push forward on getting some profits from your business or investments. Now, because of this conjunction, it may be something that you started a while ago and you're cashing in, or that suddenly somebody is bringing you more customers or clients. There is also possibly the need for you to put on the work shirt yourself and work side by side with employees because you are so busy. So there is some great opportunities for you in your own business and through your traditional investments. Now, when it comes to money derived from your career, the house is great. So all the stuff that I said about, that you need to be watchful and make changes, those changes are extremely beneficial, as I said before, because you have Sun, Moon, Uranus, North Node there, and the Sun is making a semi-square to Venus. So if you're looking for a new job, you can find one. If you, even if your company is going through a lot of changes, you could find a place there to stay and even make more money. So this is all a little bit outside your comfort zone. Maybe you don't like to ask, maybe you like to wait to be offered, but this is a time to push forward and ask, because this is the way that you can turn this semi-square into something very positive. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, or highly speculative, and that would be time sensitive or highly leveraged, the sun is not making an aspect to Pluto. So this is a chance to work on the back end of the business, whatever it is, or if you're writing a novel or screenplay or doing an album, this is time to, work on the cover art or to write the blurbs that are going to go, to advertise this, or to do the GoFundMe page, to do that sort of back office stuff that is tedious and time consuming, because everything else, it's not lining up right now to get profits. It is more saying just work at this and then do the actual investing or launches later. Okay, Leo, you guys are doing this solar eclipse right at the top of your chart. This can affect your career in lots of different ways, and that is that your company might be going through changes, you might be getting a new job, or you could be changing positions. This also represents status in your life, and that is you could be changing your status in the sense of going from being in a relationship to not being in a relationship, or vice versa, going from single to being taken, or changing of status because of things that you're putting out in the world, maybe through social media. And so you need to be quite careful if you're placing things out in the world to make sure that they are in integrity with your message. So that is if you are retweeting or reposting any of these types of things, to make sure that you know the source and you know what's behind it. Otherwise, just do your own content at this time, because then it's really in line with who you are. Now, when it comes to that spiritual connection with the Venus and Jupiter, it's in this powerful house, the 8th house, which is about really taking the time to focus in on that spiritual side. And that is to really visualize, to not just, lightly for 30 seconds be thinking about what you want, but sit down maybe with a candle or incense, with your journal, and really give this your full attention. It also is about doing things more in secret, and that is that 8th house stuff is one of those hidden houses. It's not so hidden as the 12th house, but it's still, because of that in conjunct or quincunx energy from the ascendant, it's still a little bit hidden. And so this is to kind of conceal what you're doing, maybe from the family or from people, prying eyes. And so that is, to go off privately and do that meditation. And if people start to pry, to decide what you're going to tell them in advance about your hopes and dreams and wishes. I mean, you can certainly say, hey, I was doing a meditation, but maybe you don't want to say what you were visualizing at this time. And I know that sounds not very Leo-like, because Leo, you tend to be very upfront about things and, ready to say, here I am. But sometimes you do want to work on things in private to perfect it or to get control over it before you release it into the world. And this is one of those cases, is that, to have the energy be just yours, to be pure, to not have it tainted by somebody else's opinions or, their past experiences with it, to focus on what it is that you want. I think that's the best use of this energy at this time. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, first of all, your house of intimacy is very full. You have Mars, Neptune, Venus, and Jupiter. So meeting somebody for a physical relationship is quite easy to do. Plus, the Sun is making a semi-square to Jupiter. And so even though there may be a little friction right when you meet the person, in other words, maybe they're a little late for the first date, or you're not sure if you like their voice or their look, or something's not quite feeling, really great at the first meeting, it gets better and better. And so, maybe accept that second date and, at least do 2 dates to see how things are going forward. Or maybe, if there's just been a phone call, maybe go ahead, meet the person, just for a coffee date, so that you can move this forward. This also might be a time where you are considering doing something like a matchmaker, where there is some sort of financial cost associated with it. This could also bring you a really good opportunity, but yes, there's a financial cost to it. When it comes to existing love relationships, the sun is making a conjunction to Uranus, so you guys are in sync right now. And it's possible you're doing something that's different for the both of you. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you're playing pickleball together and you've never played before. Or maybe you have decided to do a business together and this is the first business you have started together, but you're finding that you're really meshing in surprising ways. And so I think that you could come together very nicely in your relationship. And what I said about, of course, the eclipse affecting your status, then in this case it could affect a different area of your status, or that you are moving together into your relationship and it's becoming more established. When it comes to home and family, there is no aspect going on between the sun and Pluto, and so it is possible that the family is just going in all different directions. It's also possible that things that are happening at home, it's just not as disruptive or it's not as noticeable as other things in your life. It just looks like your attention is elsewhere. Having the sun, which is your ruler, so elevated can mean that you are being noticed by lots of people outside of your family. And so this could pull you out of the house. And so stuff could be going on at home, but you're not at home to notice it. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mercury, which is at 0 degrees and in a money house. So you have so many different opportunities. Now, it is a 0-degree planet, and that means that these opportunities are so brand new. You haven't investigated them yet. You haven't thought them through. And so just write them down, keep them, because there's going to be so many different ideas that you may not be able to keep track of them all. And you certainly can't work on them all at this time. Now, it also may be that there are some real changes going on in your company and a new position could be opening up, or they're opening up a new office. And so this could lead to something really good for you. When it comes to your money from traditional investments or your own business, the house is great because you have Mars, Neptune, Venus, and Jupiter. That's a lot. Many opportunities you could have many sources of income. You could have money coming in, both from clients as well as loans or grants or things like that. Additionally, Mercury is making an out-of-sign sextile to Neptune. So being that it's out of sign, it does mean that there are some financial opportunities that you don't expect. So some sort of benefit coming through, maybe it's a collaboration or some sort of sponsorship or something that is you weren't planning it, you weren't pursuing it, and suddenly it's there in front of you. So I think that there's some great opportunities. This could even be something in investing that, an investment you've never heard of before. Somebody suddenly mentions that, oh, there's an ETF for that sector. And then you say, oh, I didn't even know about that they were divided into sectors and that there are bull and bear ETFs, etc. So there are different ways of investing that you might not have been aware of, and suddenly you are. And so again, another money opportunity. When it comes to money derived from career, that is ruled by that Mercury, which is doing all of those lovely sextiles to a money house. It's in a money house. It rules a money house. Like, there's money there. Now, it is 0 degrees, and so this could be the first time you go to your boss to ask for the promotion or to be transferred to another department or to lead a team, and so they have to mull it over. So you may have to ask them twice during this 2-week period, but you do want to pursue this because this is some really positive energy. This Mercury will be in this house for a little bit. However, it's not going to be making this lovely sextile to all of these different planets for that long. So take the opportunity in the next 2 weeks, sit down with your supervisor or the hiring manager and talk about your future. And then when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, or they're highly leveraged, or they are time sensitive, Mercury is making an out-of-sign sextile to Jupiter. And everything is in money houses, so this is looking really good. Now, The only caveat, of course, is that 0-degree Mercury. So it may be that you're doing something that is brand new. And this could mean not only new for you, but so brand new, like one of these altcoins that was just launched last Tuesday. So it's super, super speculative. So do be careful. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose. Don't invest any money that you need soon. So because even though this aspect is lined up and there's some big opportunities, you may not want to cash out your money that soon if this is going in the right direction. So I like the energy that I'm seeing. This is super good if you're wanting to launch your album or send your screenplay off to an agent or a contest or something like that. Love this energy for that. So you can, look at that. But again, with all risky investments, do be cautious. Okay, Virgo, you guys are doing this solar eclipse in your area of legal matters, education, travel, and beliefs. And so this is where some information that you thought you knew or you thought was true turns out maybe to not be true, or that maybe there's been a misunderstanding somewhere. And this could be around anything from student loans, or that you got into a school and now they say you're not in the school, or that, you did get into the school, but it's much more expensive than you thought. This could also be around legal matters, something that you were certain was going to go through and now is having some difficulty. Do be careful about doing legal matters during an eclipse, and that is a very tough time to be trying to sue someone. If you can put it off till after the eclipse, or at least try to settle, that would be very helpful. This is also about travel. So if you are traveling around this time, you want to make sure that you can get a refundable ticket just in case something goes wrong, and then have the extra things that you're going to need, like your cell phone charger, your paperwork, etc. So, and that you have, you just keeping track of these things, because this is where the universe can step in to give you that nudge of push you in a different direction by removing something that you thought was necessary. And so the things that are necessary, you want to have those close by. And, it can really ruin a trip if you forgot your cell phone charger, and you really have to scramble for that. Or if you weren't keeping track of your, where your passport is, and you're panicking looking for it when all the time it's been in your jacket pocket. So it's these sort of things that you want to watch out for. Now, when we look at that Venus conjunct the Jupiter, it's in your house of connections with other people. So other people are going to be so helpful during this time to help you align with this energy. And so you might want to, before all this happens, go to your friends, go to the people who are closest to you and say, hey, where do I need a nudge? Am I not going the right direction? Have them call you on the carpet about, what you've promised, what you said you were going to do, and if you're doing it or not. This is also a time where you might offer your accountability services to somebody else, where you're each other's accountability partners in something, or the two of you are coming together to do the meditation or spiritual work together. So this is something where you want to connect with someone else. Now, if you don't have close friends nearby where you can do that, or if you just feel like, now that you've been isolated for 2 years, not in the office, not going into, religious services, you just don't have the group of friendships anymore. Now is the time to be looking around and calling those friends in spiritually through meditation or visualization, and say, this is what I want in a friendship, this is what I'm offering, and this is what I want to receive, and let the universe know so they can start sending you people. Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, Mercury's making a square to Saturn, and you have a full house of relationships. So you have definite energy here to attract somebody new into your life. Now, Mercury is out of sign, or I shouldn't say it's out of sign, the aspect is out of sign. And that means that the person who comes in may not be what you were expecting. And so they might look different or sound different or just not fit your list of what you had in your new relationship, but consider going out with them once or twice anyway to see who they are and what's going on. This is a good time to ask friends and family to help you meet someone. It is also a good time to go online and meet somebody, or go to religious groups, educational groups, because you can meet somebody there as well. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, you have some marvelous energy as well. Mercury is making a sextile to Neptune. Almost got that wrong. It is an out of sign sextile, so you are coming together with your partner and maybe having really unique conversations, discussing things you've never discussed before, but you're really clicking. Plus, again, as I said before, your house of relationships has some great planets in there. So this is really a good time to sit down and discuss future plans, to talk about trips together, to talk about, what you'd like to do and when it comes to business or home, and get in alignment with the bigger goals. Now, when it comes to home and family, Mercury is making a sextile to Jupiter. And again, out of sign, I keep repeating myself. This is... you're doing a lot of out of sign energy, which just means don't think of the expected. Think of looking in a new place. Think of looking at something different. And so the family could be coming together for a different type of experience. Maybe you get all the family together to do an escape room, or go play croquet or miniature golf, or doing something either that you haven't done in a long time or that is something new to do. And this really could pull the family together. It's also possible that somebody in the family is bringing home somebody, and that's the new energy. And maybe this is not the type of person you were expecting your kid or your sister to fall in love with, but here they are, and so you're adjusting to this sort of connection. But all of this is still good. It's a sextile. A sextile is a lovely aspect. So I think that all of this can mesh together into one big happy family. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Venus, which is conjunct Jupiter, which expands, and it's in your house of relationships. So this means the more people you meet, the more money you can make. That is, you want to figure out who is in your industry, or who do you want to meet in the world. Maybe make a list of those people and start to find the connections that will lead you to that person. This is a time to do direct messages and to send out emails, because even if you're going to hit some sort of gatekeeper, their secretary, their assistant, somebody like that, this is a time where you could get through. So, and then you also want to meet, and just general people, not like superstars, but be open to meeting lots of new people, maybe by going out and speaking, teaching, or just, going out and networking, because you could make money just by connecting with new people. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or income from your business, Venus is not making an aspect with Mars. However, they are in the same sign. So they were conjunct before, and so right now they have separated enough that it does feel like it's time to sit back now and kind of process the money that you have been making and look at where you need to lean in the future, where you need to focus your energies. This is also a time where you might be working on your website or investigating new investments and doing kind of that back office sort of counting type of research sort of work, because this is not a time so much when profits are coming in, but more of a time of getting ready for the next flood of business. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, the moon is making a semi-square to Venus. So there is an opportunity here for you to make more money at your job. This possibly is connected to more work, because Saturn isn't going through your house of work. But Saturn's been going through your house of work for a long time, so you're kind of used to it. Well, what this could be, though, is that maybe your supervisor is really busy and it's just hard to get a hold of them, because there's something where you have to push a little bit. But when you push, something good can happen. So it's worth the push. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, or they're highly leveraged or time sensitive, Venus is making a semi-sextile to Saturn. So that is that there is an aspect here. So something can happen, but it is predicated on this idea of doing the smaller little details and growing. So that is, you have to make a shift or some sort of discovery on this rocky path. And so that might be really analyzing the decisions you're making in your risky investments. Why did you choose this particular altcoin? Why did you choose this particular time to do things? What was surrounding those decision making, that process that you had? If you made an impulsive decision, what triggered that decision? And this is also a time, if you're doing one of those projects, those bigger projects, like you're about to launch your Etsy store or something, this is a time to go in and look at all the little details, make sure your prices are correct, that quantities are in your inventory, etc. So it's to do these smaller things, and then the profits come. Okay, Libra, you guys are doing this solar eclipse in this area of credit, debt, investments, resources from others, as well as intimacy. So starting with intimacy, which, we don't talk about a lot on this channel because it's a little bit more focused on finances, but this can cause some disruption in an intimate relationship. And so again, you're already watching videos on astrology, you're already spiritually aware, so you probably know that something is coming up if it is in this area. But if it's in your area of credit, debt, and those sort of resources, it is possible to be surprised by some credit card company coming in and lowering your credit line or upping your interest rate. And so that is a possibility that could happen. It is also a possibility that some resource that you thought you were going to have access to, you do not. Somebody was going to help you, or you had a connection, but it just isn't panning out. Now, again, if you are moving towards change, it is possible for the universe to take this eclipse energy and open a great new door for you. So that is also a possibility where you find that you get access to more resources than before. Now, where we see your spiritual connection and where you can access this energy is in your sixth house. That is daily routines and habits. So this is about creating a spiritual routine in your life. And that might be, getting up and doing a meditation right when you start the day, or journaling a little bit to say what you want to accomplish and how you're visualizing how that would happen. Maybe lighting a candle or lighting sage every day so that you are connecting with the bigger universe and your higher self on a daily basis. So it's very easy in this day and age to let one day go by, 2 days go by, and etc. And then suddenly you say, oh, why don't I ever do that anymore? And so this is that time to consider that. The other thing this can lend itself to is using any sort of folk magic or herbalism, anything dealing with herbs, crystals, plants, all of that. And again, adding it into your daily life. And so this might mean, consuming specific herbs, maybe through tea, to help your focus and help your body and help yourself spiritually. This could also be planting different plants in your garden or putting them on your kitchen window so that you can, your windowsill, so that you can access that energy. So combining your spiritual life with the natural world is very helpful right now. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is making a semi-square to Uranus, and that says that while there's a little bit of friction going on, there is some really positive energy if you take action outside of your comfort zone. Now, with such a full house of intimacy, I think that you could definitely move forward and find someone who maybe want a more physical relationship. Maybe you're looking for something more long-term, and so that's where this little bit of friction comes in, and then you have to take some time and get to know each other to see if a longer term relationship will work out. But there certainly could be some chemistry between the two of you. Now, when it comes to long-term relationships, Venus is not making an aspect with Mars. However, they are in the same sign. So there's still this opportunity to have good communication and to connect, but it's like you're kind of shifting back into your own little routines after having that conjunction for so long. So this means that it's going to take a little extra effort to connect. If you're feeling like your partner's a little bit distant, that's what's going on, is these planets are separating. They, of course, will make an aspect in the future, but right now it just feels like you're busy doing your thing and the other person's busy doing their thing, and it's hard to cross paths right now. When it comes to home and family, Venus is making a semi-sextile to Saturn, and this is interesting because with such a strong house of resources and house of daily routines and basically housework, it looks like a lot of maybe irritation or growth or change is happening in relation to either doing some sort of refinancing or getting a home equity loan, or trying to find someone to do some repairs. And this might be that you are taking on that challenge yourself. And so, getting the resources you need through maybe YouTube videos of how to stop a leak or how to repair, whatever in the house. So generally this, while this is a slightly irritating aspect, it's still an aspect, so you can find the help. It just takes a little bit longer than you were expecting. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Pluto, which is still, of course, in your 4th house, still going to be there for a few more years. So this is opportunities around real estate as well as home businesses and any way that your house could generate some money for you. And then also you're pulling money from Mars, and Mars is now in your house of work, and so it's basically saying the more you work, the more money you're going to make. Of course, Mars moves fairly quickly. This won't be forever, but right now it is saying buckle down, because that is where the source of extra money is for you. That might mean getting more hours in your job, but it also could mean to focus on your side hustle, because now you can see that light at the end of the tunnel where there could be profits. Now, when it comes to money from traditional investments or from your own business or even a family business, the house is great. It's Moon, Sun, Uranus, North Node, plus Venus is making a sextile to Pluto. So you have a lot of opportunities now. That means you could find really lucrative investments. You can also do really well in your business. So look at expanding your business however you can, because right now you can get more customers, clients, referrals, expanded territory. So this is a really great time. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, which is more like a paycheck, then there is no aspect going on between the Sun and Pluto. However, there is a sextile between the Sun and Mars. Sorry, I had to check to make sure it was a sextile, but it is. And so a sextile, of course, means if you take an action, then something really positive can happen. And so that is that you have to initiate the meeting. So, and it's interesting because you have such a strong house of work. However, your house of relationships and really connecting with someone, as we had already talked about, seems to be that your schedules are off. So your challenge here is to nail down your supervisor for a meeting, because otherwise, you have this good energy, which you could be using, and they're on vacation or they're too busy to see you. So you really have to find a way to connect with the person who's the decision maker so that you can capitalize on this good energy. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, they are highly leveraged or speculative or time sensitive. Anything in those categories would fall in this area, and that is that while Pluto is not making an aspect to Uranus, Mars is, and it's a sextile. So you now again have this energy of if you take an action, then something positive can happen. So because this is a sextile from the co-ruler, it is not your strongest energy. However, the strongest energy for you, what happens is it will line up for a very long period of time and then be out of sync for quite a while. And so right now you have to look for these smaller little windows so that you can, launch your album or your website, or to make an offer on a franchise, or to put a tiny amount in one of those old currencies, things like that. You want to try to find these windows to either start the process or exit the process where you're going to get the profits. So right now, this energy is lined up. A sextile is lovely. And so, it's about you taking some action. And it does show with that Mars in your house of work that it will be some work, that you have to, maybe go through a big paperwork process, or, there's just a lot of things that maybe you're not so familiar with, or worse, maybe it's just drudgery, it's just like one form after another. But the energy is quite positive. Now, as always, I have to warn you guys, this is the category of risky investments, and so do be very, very careful. You should not invest when you don't understand the investment fully, unless you're just buying a lottery ticket or something. But, treat these investments, especially things like these smaller alt currencies like a lottery ticket, so put very little money into it because it's a total long shot. Okay, Scorpio, you guys are doing this eclipse in your area of relationships, partnerships, and collaborations. And so this is where potential changes could be. Now, you may already know which of those types of relationships that you have are going to be subject to those changes. And it doesn't necessarily mean that these changes are bad. It can be just that your friend is moving away, or that your favorite boss is moving on to another company. But when you do experience this, it will cause you to make some changes and adjustments in your own life. So that's what the eclipse does. It helps nudge us into the correct direction. Now, eclipses do bring big change, and as we said, if you are already in the mode of change, this can be extremely beneficial for you. So then that means if you wanted to meet and work with maybe an influencer out there or a celebrity, you could use this energy to reach out through direct message and have more energy to make something happen. Now, I will tell you that doing this exactly on the eclipse, which is April 30th, is not beneficial, because that's the day, because of the eclipse, the energy is actually blocked or closed off. It is that there is a new energy that emerges from it. And so if you were watching this a few days before, and I always try to post these videos 2 weeks before the event, if you're watching this before, you would reach out to this individual before the eclipse, and then after the eclipse, now is the potential for this new interaction. Now, when we look at where the spiritual action is, it's in actually the area of fun, pleasurable activities, creativity, but things that are joyful. And this is about adding some joy to your spiritual practices to increase the energy. Now, it's known that, if you are making entreaties to the universe, if you attach emotion to it, and that is any emotion, so emotions like anger or sadness or desire, and in this case, joy, if you attach an emotion to it, it's much, much more powerful. And so this is to bring the emotions in, and so less of a routine and more of an event that happens. So this might mean that you are doing your spiritual practice just once a week, or even just a couple of times a month, maybe on the new moon, full moon times, where it is something special, where you take a break from everything else that you're doing to make this communication to the universe and to your higher self. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, of course, Pluto is still making a sextile to Neptune. So, you always have opportunities to meet new people. But this time we have an amazing house for romance for you with Mars, Neptune, Venus, and Jupiter. So that means you have more opportunities than usual. This is something to consider. Your relationship house also is amazing with the Sun, Moon, Uranus, and North Node. So this chart is just screaming relationship of all kinds. And so if you want a new love relationship, this is a time to be putting yourself out there, either by telling your friends that you want to meet someone or using one of those online apps so that the universe can put you together with someone. And then when it comes to existing love relationships, as I already said, the house is amazing. Plus Venus is making a sextile to Pluto. So you have very good possibilities of getting closer in this relationship if you're dating, of moving this relationship to the next level, of, coming together with the person that you're in a committed relationship with to be very united on some project or something that you need to do. So your connection together is quite strong. When it comes to home and family, even though Pluto is not making an aspect to Uranus, your co-ruler Mars is making a sextile to Uranus. And so we do have some opportunities. There's a lot going on in your area of children. And so that's the Mars, Neptune, Venus, and Jupiter. So there may be some stuff going on with them. Perhaps, maybe spring break or I don't really know the academic schedule in your area, so who knows when that is. But it's also possible that, somebody is just coming for a visit or they have some good news. And this is also that creative projects could be going on at home and that you're very happy with the results, because overall this is good energy. When it comes to your money, you are pulling money from that Jupiter, which is exactly conjunct Venus, which is really fantastic. It is still in that sign of Pisces, and so it really suggests that you visualize, that you do affirmations and meditation, keep a journal, especially a gratitude journal. Doing the spiritual work really facilitates bringing in money for you right now. When Jupiter goes into Aries, for those of you who get impatient with this process, you will love that, because that will mean that you can just take action. But right now it's still in Pisces. It just has two degrees left and a few minutes to go. And so that's going to happen pretty soon. But right now, focus on this energy that by doing the spiritual things, by visualizing opportunities coming to you, that's how you open up the conduit of money. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from a business you own, Mercury is making a sextile to Jupiter, so really good energy. It's very interesting because Mercury now has just entered that house, so it's possible you'll be getting some news. But I think with that Mercury at 0, I think that there's lots of different sources and possibilities where money could be coming in, and you'll have to take action on each one of them to see which of those doors will really open. So I think because it's a sextile, not every door will open, but the people who contact you, contact them back, or actually you need to do the first contact. So then you would send out your marketing, and then people contact you, and then contact them back and see if that door opens. When it comes to money derived from career, so this is like a paycheck, again, we are looking at that same sextile, that is Jupiter sextile Mercury, but now Mercury is in a money house. So it's possible that your work has some new program that could be beneficial. This is just at the very beginning, so they may not even have the details yet. That might not be on the website, but you may hear about, maybe some profit profit sharing, a bonus opportunity, something that could be beneficial. And so as you start to hear about it, you want to talk to people and say, all right, tell me the details so you can utilize that sextile. And then when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, or they're highly speculative or time sensitive, Jupiter is still making a conjunction to Neptune. So plus, of course, Venus and Mars are also in that house. So that house is chock full of energy and opportunities right now. So of course, this is risky investments, and risky investments are risky. So do be careful. That means don't invest money that you can afford, that you can't afford to lose. Also, don't invest money that you're going to need very soon, because sometimes risky investments, if they're not time sensitive, do take a long time to pan out. So, but the energy here is quite good. It's likely you can make more in this area than usual. So, again, proceed with caution. I like you guys to be cautious. I want you to be safe. So, okay, Sagittarius, you guys are doing this solar eclipse in your area of work, health, as well as daily routines. So this can cause some disruption in these areas. Now, of course, the one that you have the most control over is your daily routines. And so making changes there can help dissipate this energy, especially if they are health related routines. So that is, like giving up sugar or exercising every day, getting a personal trainer, starting a yoga program or something like that. Now, when it comes to work, there could be some changes at your job, and this might be ones that directly affect you, but also ones where it affects a coworker, which then that affects your job. So this could mean that they're adding people and perhaps people that you have to train. They may be subtracting people, giving you more work. If you own a business, it could mean that you have more customers, but now you're super busy and your infrastructure is not strong enough to withstand that. So looking for changes that you can make before this eclipse happens really helps. So you want to be that moving target, because that's harder to be hit. If you're just standing still, then the wave hits you. Now, when it comes to that spiritual point where you can access the energy, it's in your area of ancestors and things that have gone on before. And so this is a time to reach back into history to see how people did spiritual practices in the past. And so that can be going back into the more traditional beliefs of a religion, or going to the ancient belief systems where people used nature, like astrology, as well as crystals, herbs, certain times of the year based on the seasons, the moon, of course, the phases of the moon. So using these things in your spiritual practice could really help you gain new opportunities and help you through this eclipse period. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mars is not making an aspect with Jupiter. And so it's not quite time yet. It looks like you're quite focused on other areas. And so this one where you might meet somebody and just be communicating by text, it's hard to get together for that first date, or you are scrolling through and not seeing anybody you really feel a connection with. This, of course, will line up in the future, but right now, over the next 2 weeks, it's a little bit of time to focus on something else. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, it's a completely different story, because Mercury is making a sextile to Jupiter. Now, it's an out-of-sign sextile, and so that means that the two of you may be coming together for something you didn't expect. And so, like your partner does decide that they really do love football, or I don't even know when football season is, so that's not probably a good example. Or that, you were watching a TV show and they said they didn't want to watch it, and they start watching it and they turn out to love it. And so there's this kind of connection that happens that you weren't really expecting. So, and because Mercury has entered your house of relationships, I think that this can help you really facilitate communication. You can talk on different topics and find that you have actually some hidden connection that you didn't know about. Now, when it comes to home and family, the energy is quite strong. Neptune's still making a conjunction with Jupiter, plus you have a full house of home and family, which is Mars, Neptune, Venus, and Jupiter. So you have a ton of energy here, and that can be that maybe people are visiting from out of town, maybe somebody is moving out, and so you're helping them, launch themselves into the world, because this is very happy energy. So it's not like somebody's leaving you in the lurch or something. This could be just, helping a kid get their first place, and then you get a craft room out of it, or, you get a dedicated office space or something like that. So it's also can be that you're just coming together as a family, doing more family get-togethers, dinners, and that things that need doing in the house get done more easily. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Saturn, which is making the only squares in this chart. And squares are really where we take action. So the Saturn is still making a square to that north node, south node, which is you at the crossroads deciding whether you want to do something that you have done before or doing something brand new. And there are, positives and negatives about both sides. Although, when it's a north node, south node question, we do tend to find that your happiness is going to be on the road of doing something new. So, but Saturn does love the past, and so there's going to be a little bit more of a desire to, go and try something again, try something you have done before and you've had experience with. It's just difficult to get different results from doing that. So just keep that in mind. But right now, basically, you're having to make some decisions, and those decisions, when they come up, if you lean towards a thing that is new, you're going to get better results. Now, when it comes to traditional investments or money from your career, Saturn's not making an aspect with the moon. And so therefore, this is a time where you're going to spend more of your energy on back office, paperwork, just kind of getting the infrastructure in place, or is automating things so that you can handle business in the future. And this is reinforced by the energy of the sun, moon, Uranus, and North Node all in your house of work. So you're working quite hard. The profits seem to be outside this 2-week period. Of course, this energy will line up in the future and you will get those profits, but now's the time to focus on your infrastructure of the business, or the, researching the investments. Stumbled over that sentence for a bit, didn't I? But researching the investments through prospectuses and looking what the experts say, etc., rather than expecting profits to come in this 2-week period. Now, it's a different story when it comes to money derived from career, and that's like getting a paycheck, and that is Venus is making this semi-sextile to the sun, to Saturn. So I've got to keep my planet straight. So what this means is it's a little bit of a bumpy aspect. It's a little bit outside your comfort zone, but there is growth if you lean in, and that means you may have to chase down your boss a little bit, but you have such a strong house of work that when you do connect with this person, they do see the logic in giving you more money, and that there may be some opportunities, even if in general they're not seeing, you're not due for a raise yet, but hey, I can put you in for a higher commission rate, or there's a bonus, or maybe they just hand you a really great customer who's going to bring you more commission. When it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, they're time sensitive or they're highly leveraged. Mars is not making an aspect to Saturn. And so right now, because you have such a strong house of work, this is more about doing the research, arranging the paperwork, maybe signing that non-disclosure, getting their financials and going through those. If you're working on your novel, this is to go through that editing process or start to work on the blurbs that go on the back of the book and what you're going to display on Amazon, what you're pricing. So it's all of that stuff, which is hard, like sometimes we don't count that in the process. We're so ready to jump into the business or launch the book that we forget how long that stuff takes. And so that's what you're working on for these 2 weeks. And then we'll see this energy line up for profits in the future. Okay, Capricorn, you guys are doing this solar eclipse in your area of children, creativity, also romance and risk-taking. And so these are where some disruptions or opportunities can come through. So when it comes to your kids, it may be that they are going through some big change. And of course, you are trying to help them or guide them through whatever it is that they're going through. And this is also around pregnancy. And so it's possible you're pregnant, and then that would be a big life change, or that you are looking into ways of adding to your life through adoption or maybe getting a pet. So things like that bring big changes in a person's life and often happen around an eclipse. So, and by the way, if you are looking for a pet, then actually getting the pet exactly on the eclipse, which is April 30th, is not a good idea. It is better to choose the beginning of that relationship on a non-eclipse day. So don't go to the adoption place on April 30th. I think it's a Saturday. So because that energy is quite disruptive, and so you may not get the little soul that is a match for you and your situation. So, of course, this eclipse is also hitting your area of creativity, and so that may mean a breakthrough in a creative project, or as possible that you are having a setback in a creative project. But we know that eclipses, while they bring change, can nudge us in the right direction, and so we go look back on the eclipse energy and we're usually very glad it happened. That takes a couple of months, to have that distance there. So keep that in mind if you are struggling with a creative project. The same with romance. If you are having some sort of struggles in that area, you might get that little nudge from the universe into a different direction, and something beneficial can come of this. When it comes to risky investments, we will talk more about that in a second, so stay tuned. Now, when we look at where you can access positive energy through spirituality, it's in your area of writing and teaching, learning, also reading, collecting information, and movement in general. So if you are combining spirituality with some sort of structured movement, that can be very good. And of course, that would be like yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong. If you're doing some sort of journaling, especially a gratitude journal, that can be really good with this energy, or some sort of automatic writing. And then also, of course, learning more, studying sacred texts, and just reading and understanding either religious ideas, spiritual ideas, or philosophical ideas. All of that can help you not just go through this eclipse, but in general, because that's where that Venus conjunct Jupiter is right now. Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, we talked a little bit about it already. The eclipse is there. You also have Uranus and the North Node in that house, plus Saturn is making a semi-sextile with Venus. So there's good energy here when you step outside your comfort zone, when you're willing to do things that are kind of irritating for you. That's where you receive the growth. And so maybe you don't normally like to do online dating, but you're willing to take the chance, or perhaps you never do blind dates, but you're willing to do it, and that could yield some positive results. Now, it's a little bit of a different story when it comes to existing love relationships, because Saturn's not making an aspect with the moon. And so the house is empty and it really feels like you're focused elsewhere. There's, a lot of energy on creativity. There's a ton of energy for children and projects that you're working on, also about learning and teaching. And so you and your beloved, you might just be in your own routines, just moving along, but not so much where you're coming together really as that united front. And it does look like that's okay for the moment. Sometimes when people are in a partnership, they have to just do their own thing for a while. And, that's where the benefit comes in, because there's specialization where you don't always have to be with each other all the time. So I think that's what's going on. This is not negative energy. It's just actually just a lack of energy, which just means that your schedules are different. The timing's off a little bit. And when it comes to home and family, Mars is not making an aspect with Saturn. And so again, we're showing that there's not a lot of focus in this area right now. And so that's different, of course, than children. So of course, you could live with your kids. Yes. But this is more about the dwelling itself, and that is the major factor here. So when we're talking about the solar eclipse in that area of children, that's more about interacting with the kids. So this is that the home is going along okay. The family is going along okay. It's just, everybody is dealing with other things. And so you're not paying so much attention to the building itself. You are more maybe interacting with your kids, or interacting even with siblings, because you have a strong house of siblings and neighbors, but less about maybe getting a contractor in to do the renovations you want. That one's going to be tougher this time. When it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Uranus as well as that Saturn. Saturn is still in your house of money, still doing that slow growth wealth aspect. And that is, every time you can put even $1 into the savings account, or of course, not savings account because they pay almost nothing, but some sort of investment, it does build and grow. So, but the Uranus is what's really active in this chart, because it is sitting right on that solar eclipse. And so it does say that you may be looking for a whole different way of dealing with your money. That's possible that you are, maybe starting your debt snowball, or you're starting to write down your budget, or you are looking at different sources of income, because this could be that a creative source of income starts to pay off, and it pays off in chunks for you. And so not as that regular income like a paycheck, but all of a sudden a surprise extra money. And rather than just running out and spending it, you're taking care of it and dividing it into the different envelopes or categories. So you're showing change in this area, and it's rather a dramatic change because this is connected to the eclipse. So then when it comes to traditional investments and money from a business or a family business, the sun is making a conjunction to Uranus, of course, because the Uranus is conjunct the eclipse. So this is the location where this may be occurring. And so it's possible that your business makes a leap forward, where now suddenly somebody who wants to be a true fan is coming in, bringing you more customers. It is also possible that the universe is nudging you in a different direction, maybe blocking you from doing one thing so that you can spend more time doing something else. So watch for those signs and kind of make the course adjustments yourself before the universe steps in. That's a much easier way to do things. And overall, though, this is a conjunction, so this is good energy for bringing more money than usual over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, which is like a paycheck, Pluto's not making an aspect to Uranus. However, Mars is. So we can see it's making a sextile to that Uranus, which brings an opportunity. And so that opportunity starts through some sort of communication on your part. And that might be that you just, let the boss know that you want to have a meeting so that you can talk about your future in the company. This is also good for sending out your resume, just to generate a little bit of energy and buzz, even though you may not tell anybody at your work that you're looking around. There's just a shift in the energy, which can get your current job, your current company to pay more attention to you and give you something of benefit. Now, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, they're highly leveraged or time sensitive. Venus is making a semi-square to Uranus. This means that there is some sort of thing outside of your comfort zone. It's a little bit difficult to do, but when you do it, something could pay off. Now, what is likely is this is something to do with forms or paperwork or communication or asking for the sale, because the Venus is not just in your house of communication, but it's expanded because it's that with that Jupiter. So certainly do all the spiritual things that we were talking about to facilitate this energy, but also you probably have to do something in writing or to face someone to ask for whatever it is, the money or the price you want, etc. Now, of course, you have a full house in your house of risky investments, so that is very positive. So you have really positive energy around this. This doesn't make these investments less risky. It just says that things that you have been considering, and especially because you have such a strong house of information, things that you understand and know about, you have a better chance of succeeding now. And so use that, but remember, it's still a risky investment. None of this mitigates risk. In fact, this is a solar eclipse time, and so things are heightened. The energy is heightened. So please be cautious when doing things that are in this category. Okay, Aquarius, you guys are doing this solar eclipse in your area of home, family, and dwellings. It's right at the base of your chart, so it can disrupt the foundations of what you've been doing. And so it's also possible, of course, that you have sensed this energy already and you're already making changes, like moving, changing something substantially about the house, having somebody move into your house or out of your house, or dealing with your house in an entirely different way, maybe as more of a money-making thing by renting out a room or listing it on Airbnb. So this also might mean there's some construction going on in the house. But we can't rule out that this could be disruptive to the family, so somebody in the family may have a big announcement, and that can bring in a lot of changes. Now, where we see you focusing your energy on doing spiritual work to help facilitate all of this, to give you the best results, is in that area of tangible objects. And so this is very connected to the earth, and so that would be that would be things like crystals, precious metals, but also objects made out of wood, plants, things like that. By using those as part of your spiritual practice, you really intensify the energy. And so you might take a piece of citrine if you're looking for more money, or you might have a sapphire that you can wear if you're looking for love. So you can, certainly bring in some money opportunities when you are working with gold, and you can bring some income, like regular income opportunities in when you're working with silver. So some of those things you can do because right now you're doing very grounded spiritual energy, and so it says work with objects, and that can be stones, plants, even talismans of different types. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Uranus is not making an aspect with Mercury. It's interesting because Mercury has just gone into that house. So these this is going to line up probably maybe the next time, maybe the time after, but it is going to line up. But right now it's not. But because Mercury is there, there could be that you meet someone, but it's just too hard to get something going over the next 2 weeks. So hold on to their name and number, because after that, when this energy does line up, the two of you may come together. Now, it's a completely different story when it comes to existing love relationships, because Uranus is making a conjunction with the sun. And so you are coming together really as this connection, this united energy where you can move forward on projects, where you can, connect on a deeper level. And that might be through the changes that are happening at home. You're just pulling together as a team. So this energy looks quite good. Now, when it comes to home and family, we've already said there's quite a bit of energy going on that is kind of disruptive or facilitating change. Venus is making a semi-square to Uranus. So again, this is outside the comfort zone, feels a little bit of there's some friction, it's difficult energy. And if you work on it, really good results can happen. So it is just, it's definitely like an eat your Brussels sprouts sort of energy. It's just like, maybe Brussels sprouts aren't your favorite vegetable, but you eat those, and not only do they help you, makes your grandmother really happy because it was her special recipe, that sort of thing. It's like doing something that's difficult that benefits others can really benefit you, and so that's where the positive energy is. It's right behind that difficult thing to do. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Neptune as well as Jupiter, and they have Venus sandwiched in between. And so you have super positive energy right now for finding new ways of making money, as well as, really stimulating some of your existing sources of money. Now, I think that because there's an eclipse going on, which is ruled by that Venus, if you have been trying to get something off the ground and you have not seen it work, you may experience some sort of block in this area, so that you are being signaled by the universe to move on to a different project. Not all projects pay off. Sometimes it's just not a match for us, ourselves, or sometimes it's just not match for the timing of what people are looking for. And so it's really good to be flexible. Aquarius, you guys are kind of this weird sort of, somewhat flexible and somewhat inflexible, because you're a fixed sign. So sometimes you can get very focused on what it is that you know and not budging from that. And then other times you can turn on a dime. So, which, defines Aquarius. It's like you're unpredictable. So here you have the opportunity to bring in money from different sources, but it may mean abandoning something that you were hoping was going to work for something that really will work. When it comes to traditional investments or money from your own business, Mercury is making a sextile to Neptune. Now, it is an out of sign sextile, so it says that this might be something that you hadn't considered, a source of money that is a little bit of a surprise, or a different type of investment. But the sextile means that if you explore it, you can see the way forward. So you just take an action and some positive things can happen. So I'm seeing good energy in this area. It just may not be the most obvious route forward. And then when it comes to money derived from your career, which is like a paycheck, Jupiter is still making that conjunction to Neptune. And so this is a great time to be talking to your supervisor about a raise and your future with the company. If you're looking for another job, this is a good time to be looking. You have a lot of negotiating ability right now because Venus is there and the eclipse is happening. So, and something like getting a raise is a change. So, and this also, of course, would facilitate a complete job change. And so either direction you go, you could have some really good benefits. And then finally, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, they're highly leveraged or very speculative or time sensitive, I guess is a better term. Mercury is making that out of sign sextile with Neptune. So this might mean that you are, jumping into something that is absolutely brand new. And not just new to you, but it might be brand new for everybody, a new way of investing, a new way of generating income that, the platform didn't exist before, or the currency didn't exist, or something. So because it's super new and because this is risky investments, do be very careful. Make sure you're not investing money that you can't afford to lose, and don't invest money that you need back really soon. So, but there is some good energy for finding, discovering a new investment and starting to get into something. You could make some profits this time. Okay, Pisces, you guys are doing the solar eclipse in your area of communication, as well as contracts, agreements, siblings, and neighbors. So this is where the disruptive energy can be. So if you already are having trouble with some neighbors, be careful, because this could expand into something that's very difficult. The same with siblings. If you have an estranged relationship with a sibling, you want to do what you can to shift the direction of that by being proactive and, calling a truce or trying to have a conversation. So, because if that person is not, following this energy, if they're not so spiritually inclined, they may get whacked by the universe and become quite disruptive in your life. So now the other side of this is there may be a contract for you to sign, or some sort of important writing or teaching that you're doing. And this is something where you can, because it's very much under your control, where you can jump in and say, okay, I'm going to study for my tests, or get my class ready, my lecture ready, or work on the agreement by going through the different provisions. So all of this is like, be very proactive, and then you're going to find this energy is quite beneficial. I should also mention that third house where this is happening does rule vehicles as well. So do be careful driving on April 30th, especially, because if you get a ticket, it could be a whopper of a ticket. So when we look at where to work on the spiritual side of your life to facilitate the positive energy that this eclipse could bring, it's in your own sign of Pisces. So that's where that Neptune, Venus, and Jupiter are. And so this is about becoming personally involved in it, and that is to let it embody you, let it be part of your identity. Be the person that is the one who people know you as being spiritual. People know that you are, taking the high road in different situations, that you're going to be more likely to do the prayer, the meditation, light the candle, etc. And then, because it is on the axis of the relationship house, that means that you could then invite like-minded people to do spiritual practices with you. Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, the moon is making a semi-square to Neptune. I had to check. But yes, it's a semi-square to Neptune. And so what this means is that new love is possible, but when you first come together, you may not feel it's a match. You may feel that you're just too different, or there's something the other person does that irritates you and that makes this start a little bit bumpy. But if you stick with it in the second date or third date, then things start to gel, and whatever misunderstanding happens seems to clear up. So if you are, and this is a little bit different than first impressions, sometimes we can tell so much just from the meeting of the person. But if the person shows up quite late and they have a good reason for it, but you're a little worried that maybe they made up the reason, try the second or third date and see if things do shift, because there is good energy, but you have to get through the rough part. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is making a sextile to Neptune. It is an out of sign sextile. And so that does mean that there's something that's a little bit different or surprising about how the two of you are coming together. And there's activation in that area of home and family. So it's possible that one of you is traveling. And so there's like, you're getting closer together because you're apart at the moment. So, as you talk on the phone, you realize how much you miss each other, and that helps you be more empathetic and understanding about each other. So there's something that's a little bit of a surprise here, but I see some positive energy when it comes to existing love relationships. Now, you're doing that same aspect when it comes to home and family. And so we see really positive opportunities with home and family, except that bumpy area around siblings. So with siblings, there may be still some difficulty because that's the home of the eclipse. But when it comes to getting repairmen in to fix things, again, there's some sort of surprise. So it might be that you didn't know that your neighbor also knows how to fix a washing machine, or that that somebody's going to come in, and while they're there, they're willing to buy your old couch. There's some sort of benefit, but it comes a little bit out of left field. Otherwise, this energy is quite good. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mars in your own sign of Pisces, and it is making a sextile to that eclipse energy. So it is really saying that change is what is needed to look at how you deal with your money, how you're getting your money in, and look for whatever changes you can make, because that will really facilitate this energy. Of course, making the changes before the eclipse is better than making it after, because the universe could nudge you before you get a chance to make the changes. But hopefully you're watching this before the eclipse. I do try to post these videos about 2 weeks ahead of time so that you have some time to work with the energy. So this is one of those cases where you can activate that lovely sextile and bring yourself a new source of income, or shift what you're doing to bring you more money because you're making a change. Now, there is some interesting energy too when it comes to traditional investments or money from a business, because Venus is not making an aspect with Mars. However, they are in the same sign. And so there's still some connection, but it's getting weaker. And so, it'll get weaker and then it'll disappear for a little while, and then it'll grow again and become a connection. So this means if you are trying to get paid for something, you're going to have to really scramble to get that happening. Otherwise, if somebody is owing you, it may take a while to get that accounts receivable really happening because of this separating energy. Additionally, it may mean that as you look at new investments, it's not quite the right time to get in. You may have to wait until the cycle shifts, and so you can find your buy points and sell points. Sell points also. When it comes to money derived from career, that's like a paycheck. Mars is not making an aspect with Saturn. And Saturn being still in your 12th house and not quite in that really strong sector, although it's almost there. As Saturn gets closer and closer to your sign, it's going to intensify in energy, bringing you huge opportunities when it comes to a career for a new job, promotion, etc. It's not quite here yet. So, just go along and, keep up what you're doing. Maybe update your resume. Because this energy is going to happen pretty soon, where there's just going to be this huge burst of power that you have for getting a new job or getting a promotion. And then finally, when it comes to risky investments, and these are the things that take a lot of time, energy, or money to get going, they're highly leveraged or time sensitive. The moon is making a sextile to Mars. So, yes, the moon is making a sextile to Mars. Of course, the moon is part of this eclipse, so you could find some startling new information and you see an opportunity there. Might be something you never heard of before, and you see all of this potential. So, this is very good energy for getting something to happen. You, of course, have to initiate the action. You have to start the process of research or connecting with others, or, you know, having a meeting or things like that, because, you know, there's so much energy in your area of communication and negotiation. So, of course, this is risky investment, so please keep that in mind. There's no sure thing when it comes to risky investments, so you need to be very prudent about what you're doing. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket. Make sure you have a really diversified portfolio. But in a truly diversified portfolio, it does make sense to have a small percentage go to something that is a little bit riskier. This, though, if you are doing the type of risky investment where it's a lot of upfront work, like, you know, doing an album or writing a screenplay, this energy is really quite good for launching it, uploading it, or looking for your agent slash publisher. Don't do any, though, of that communication exactly on the eclipse, that April 30th date, because that's a date of no energy, because the energy is shifting, so it's blocked. And so you can do it before, you can do it right after, so, but don't do it on April 30th. And you could get some really interesting results if you are wanting to launch something important in your life. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe and stay tuned, because LaRue wants to say hi. What's up? What? What? Your bowl is empty? Oh my goodness. Well, we're going to have to take care of that. So, is that what you want? You want some food? You're my best boy, aren't you?